Today, a discussion about celebrated American writer, humorist, and lecturer Mark Twain and his ties to Yale. It was written about recently in the Yale magazine, the alumni magazine. There's also a book called Jim, the Life and Afterlives of Huckleberry Finn's Comrade. My guest today is Stanford Professor of English and author, Dr. Shelley Fisher Fishkin. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
You bet. All right. How is it that you write about Twain? What's the connection?
Well, I've been preoccupied with writing about Twain for my entire academic career, and a lot of my interest was sparked during my time at Yale. And recently I was intrigued to become more aware of the many, many ties that Twain had to Yale.
For instance, he was a secret society honorary member. Tell me about that.
Yes, his friend Joe Twitchell nominated him to Scroll and Key in 1868, and Twain was delighted to accept. He occasionally would go to graduate meetings, and he once told some students that he wasn't sure of the work of the society, but when he learned that it was mainly eating and drinking, he was happy to hold up his end of it.
All right, so now we know about the secret societies a little bit more anyway, kind of like a fraternity. What else don't we know about Twain and Yale?
Well, he allowed a dozen Yale recent graduates, students who included the head of the undefeated football team in 1891, to convict him in a raucous mock trial on a transatlantic voyage. And they convicted him of being a great liar in his works. And he was sentenced to reading from his works for three hours a day for the rest of the cruise. He also went to a Yale-Princeton football game and was very impressed by the Yale team. He said the Elis must be made of the granite of the state of Connecticut. They were just too much for the Tigers. Yale won that game. And in addition, he received 2 honorary degrees from Yale. And the first one, in 1888, he wrote President Timothy Dwight how important it was to remember that the humor that he was famous for had a moral component, that it was the natural enemy of tyrannies and the friend of human rights and human liberties. And that still remains one of the best statements that we have of Twain about the larger import of what he was up to as a comic writer.
And of course, we enjoy the Mark Twain house in Hartford and see that all the time. Why did you write the book?
Well, I really became increasingly convinced that Jim, the black hero of the book, had been sold down the river for the last 140 years, that he had not been given his due as the character Twain created. Twain had enormous admiration for him. He respected him. He was based on a number of individuals Twain knew in his life, including one who worked at the house in Hartford. And Twain wanted the reader to admire him. But because he tells the story through the eyes of an adolescent child who doesn't see the world the way Twain sees it, the reader often made the mistake of assuming that Twain viewed Jim the way Huck viewed him, and that's wrong. Huck has a very limited view of Jim for most of the book. He sees him as a stereotype. He doesn't think he's smart. He's constantly surprised when he says smart things and makes judgment calls that are really insightful. He also doesn't credit him with being creative. Twain does. So I realized, and I blame myself in part for this, that I had said in the 1990s that Jim had a diminished voice. I don't believe that anymore. I think that he had a voice that was his own, and Twain let him speak in his own voice, but the dialect often makes readers uncomfortable because they assume that it's there to make fun of him. It's not. It's there because Twain just wanted to be accurate and do justice to how an enslaved man in antebellum Missouri would have spoken.
Dr. Fishkin, thank you for your authority on all of this. So nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You bet. And for more on Mark Twain and ties to Yale, go to WTNH.com or the News 8 app. That is so interesting. I mean, she's written about Twain for a long, long time. She's a scholar about Mark Twain, and then she writes in Yale Alumni magazine, and then also this book, which is very, very, I think, important and interesting that she's done.
I like the fact that she brings out new insights into this through a different perspective, and congratulations to her.